That's when Billy little.
I was dancing.
Carla! Okay, I have been so freaking looking forward to this particular episode, not because of anything we're going to talk about, just because I get to hang out with you.
I was thinking the same thing. And then the video's playing and the music. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to remember to tell you about this dog that I'm dog sitting and the songs I make up for him, but I consistently sing them. So that could be it.
See, I think music is like just straight to the middle of my heart. Cause like whenever I'm tired or whatever, I will put on music, whether it be some like, soul music or Footloose or whatever the case may be, and it helps get me. It's like my own little hype song. Like I picked this song not because it's necessarily feral, but because it just makes me feel feral, so.
Yes, and I've got to tell you, we'll make this really short. I'm dog sitting this zany bull mastiff.
So cute. So cute.
I have decided reminds me so much of, and we won't get into why, Vladimir Zelensky, whatever,
nice.
Not his name. And so
I like how he sits just with his butt firmly on the top of the couch.
And I call him Lil Z, and I've made up a song. And so I've given myself an earworm of Lil Z. It's not even a song, but it's music, and it hypes me up.
I just going to keep going down this road of bizarreness. But so I have a twin brother that people are always like, you have a twin? And I'm like, yeah. And like, we're nothing alike. But like when I was little, he had his own little like cheer prep song that my mom sang for him.
No
like,
way.
yeah. And she's like, he's Ricky Edward because he's Ricky Edward, and like, cause like, and like, I didn't have a hype song, like the misogyny, like now she's like this, like, lesbian in her 80s. Right. And yet still she perpetuated the misogyny by having this pep song for my brother. And I had nothing, like.
This is the best. This could be the entire 30 minutes.
Exactly. So, but, so back to here, I'm putting on my podcast voice. Okay. So, today's word of the week is consistency. Ta-da! And I'm joined by Carla Birnberg, Masters of Education, for a conversation about the patterns underneath women's inconsistency. So let's see, what else did I want to make sure that people knew? So some women are so reliable that nobody notices that they have completely disappeared. And they answer the texts, and they meet the deadlines, and they keep the appointments, and they remember the birthdays, they handle the logistics, they smile in the grocery store while holding a nervous system together with duct tape, caffeine, and one remaining thread of adult womanhood. And then one day they look around and they realize, I've been wildly consistent, just not to myself. So today's word of the week is consistency. Carla's here for this conversation because I think a lot of women have confused self-abandonment with discipline for a long time. And this is the feral era for women over 40, where high-achieving women come to stop origami folding themselves into smaller versions of who they are just to keep everybody else comfortable.
I love that.
And Carla, I feel like this conversation is going to punch a lot of people in the frontal lobe.
I am ready. I mean, consistency, that is me. And my phrase always is, it is not sexy, but it works. And then I think, oh shit, that's me. It's just me. It's become the theme song of my life, and it has saved me more than once.
So is it really, though, when you say unsexy, are we really doing ourselves? Maybe what becomes sexy changes as we get older too, though.
You nailed it. Like, that's exactly it. I mean, to me, it is very sexy in every, not even necessarily romantic sexy, but just when people show up. It can be business partners, it can be the founder I'm doing work with.
Yeah.
It's sexy, that ability to return. It's not showing up the same way every day. That's not sexy. That's okay, rigidity. But that ability to return is sexy.
So tell me why you picked consistency, and why do women over 40 have such a complicated relationship with it specifically?
Okay, I've been thinking about this so much. Twofold. First, why did I pick it? I mean, I did not realize until I started, it was really navel gazing like a couple years ago, when the word really kept showing up for me, that I've been talking about it forever. You and I knew each other when I wrote the first book, What You Can, When You Can.
Right.
consistency by any other name, whatever that Shakespeare quote is, a rose by any other name.
Yeah.
And so that I came to it really quickly when I had to pick a word. The women, I mean, I always think, because I'm my own best audience, this is not going to be funny, but I think it every time that I am not the Laura Axberg. I can't speak for all women. However, it's like, I know, I love Dr. Seuss, but I can speak for me, but more than that, it's humans I've worked with one-on-one and in groups and in teams. It's complicated for us because we are intuitive. I
Yeah.
know, we know, and yet we buy into the, especially on this esteemed platform of LinkedIn where we are, we see the people that we know in those still moments and right in here that they are, it's not consistency. It's, I stayed at the office today. In fact, I've not been home. I haven't seen my kids in 75 years. I think they're in the old age home now. I'm working all the time. The endurance, the streaking, the never ending, we know it doesn't work, but we see it everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, even out in the world, we know that endurance will wane and our willpower can't hold out. And yet when we see it all around us, we think, am I doing something wrong by going to the gym on Monday, and then on Tuesday I'm just super tired, so I'm going to walk the dog around the block, and then Wednesday I'm going back to F45. That's consistency, but it doesn't feel like enough. We know it is, but we can get different messages from outside of ourselves.
Yeah, I love that you talked about like consistency can help us get away from the hustle culture. It can help us get away from like streak counting. And what do you think people most misunderstand about like what consistency can look like in human life?
I think that's it. I mean, it's twofold. Like for me, the biggest, we were talking about how I'm such a morning person. Like I used to have, I'm almost embarrassed of this, but I used to have to be up because I had 4 a.m. calls with the team every day. Now I'm still up at 4 because it's like the coffee, the quiet, that consistency isn't very flashy. I might think I'm going to write a whole article this morning and it ends up being a paragraph. That's still consistency. We think it's got to look the same. If we think of that bar graph, that every day it's going to be Carla writes a Substack article every morning and it's edited and ready to go. That's not consistency. It's touching it every day and doing what we can on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Trusting that we'll return if we skip a day or even 5.
Yeah, that reminds me like when the 5 a.m. book, 5 a.m. club book came out, a few years ago or whatever. Like I remember thinking like I got to do that because this, and then I realized that all of that is subjective and all of it is bullshit. And you can just really just define what consistency looks like for you. So you and I were talking about how like you and I were messaging yesterday morning. You were just like getting up and I was just going to bed because I love my late night time when I'm just sitting and thinking and cranking and the dogs
And it's
aren't
what I
like
said
being
to you,
as
I
needy.
couldn't do it. Like,
Yeah.
I admire that. I couldn't do it. So if you told me consistency is only for people who can work from midnight to 4, I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah. Tap.
I know. Nice knowing you. I'm done.
Why is it so much easier to stay consistent for others, like employees, employers, and kids, and partners, and patients, and like strangers, even than we do for ourselves?
I think the surface answer, and it's been the answer, I'm in my 50s, for as long as I can remember, is self care. We don't prioritize ourselves. I don't think, from my perspective and from my work experience with mostly women, that's what it is. I think it becomes, it's easy to be consistent for them because it's very clear. I'm going to do this for my kid, my boss, whatever it is. It's twofold. We need to identify what is it that we want to get consistent around. And I consistently hear fitness. So let's think of that as the example, even though it's not always what we're thinking about. And it really is the initial digging into why. Why? Do I really care? Do I think, no, I'm pretty fit already and this isn't important to me? Is this really something I want? And once we've decided that, let's say for this example, it is something we want, This is the part that trips all of us up, including me. The now we know we want this and consistency, like I can barely say it because I can feel it so much. It's vulnerability. It's the willingness to
Mm,
show up wanting. When I decided I was writing the book Consistency, Everyday Consistency, The Hidden Power of Showing Up, and I told people, and then I kept showing up and writing the chapters, it felt so vulnerable to really be willing to say, I want this and I'm going to show up for it in whatever capacity I have every day, whatever
mhm.
to get it done. It's almost easier to keep making dinner for our 5 kids that are sitting at the table. It's vulnerability for ourselves and
And
desire.
I just want you to know if I walk in and there's 5 kids sitting at my table, I'm like going to the next door neighbors and being like, "What?" No.
Jobs. I would take five
Right.
jobs.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I and I think that's one of the ways that we can kind of hijack the pattern is like for me, what is it that like how is it that we can turn that natural like obliger,
Yeah.
like, in by reporting out, in by showing up, in by being vulnerable. So, like, in my newsletter this past week, like, we decided, "Hey, the book's gonna come out this month, and, we have a new launch date, and la, 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 la," and I was like, "Oh," and and yet it wasn't until I put it in the newsletter, and that people were replying and being like, "Yeah, I wanna be on the launch team," that I was just like, "Oh, oh, okay, shit just got real." And so it
And
is,
it's your desire. When I read it,
yeah,
I thought it's so vulnerable because we're
yeah.
showing up. And I sometimes laugh to myself, not late at night because I'm sleeping, but early in the morning. And I think, but it is that for me, it's consistency really is desire. It's not balls to the wall. It's fine if it looks like this. In fact, I think it should versus
Mhm.
streaking. But the one thing that we have to show up with every day at some capacity, like 10% or 100%, is that desire.
Mm.
I know I feel it like right here.
Well, and I can feel it in, like, my gut is voice is lower, like, maybe because my boobs are lower, I don't know, but I just, maybe it started up here and then
Is it
but I
whatever?
just right. I know, but did you know? So, why do you think, like I think a lot of it comes down to like our values that we say we claim, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if we say, like this is what we claim, but we're actually rewarding something else, then that inconsistency, like where do you see women getting punished for consistency that doesn't look like shiny or convenient?
I thought a lot about this. And for me, it almost goes back to what you started with. And this is boring, but consistency can be not sexy. What I will often say to people, who do you have in your life that you're willing to be vulnerable with? And I have my soulmate BFF. And I showed her my calendar and said, tell me what my values are based on what I have scheduled here.
Mm,
And
mm,
that really showed me. I mean, I am as susceptible to this as anybody. I say I want to get consistent with yoga. I've not done yoga, I mean, since the pandemic. So I'm like, so it's not, I mean, if you show me your calendar and everything's in there, I'll reflect back to you, not just your values, because that almost feels
mhm,
weighty and judgmental, but what you want to be consistent about.
yeah. But to that point, I think it's also surrounding yourself with the people who you can give that feedback to, and they won't take it as gospel, that they won't take it as shame, that they won't take it as judgment. Like, like you had to show up with a certain level of vulnerability. You were like, I really appreciated you telling me the feedback you did on my branding stuff with everything that I'm
Oh my
working on,
gosh. My
right? And yet, I would not have done that if I thought,
Can we dig
if
into this super briefly? Because I was telling somebody again
Yeah, because like,
yesterday.
I would not have even thought about sharing that because it's none of my business, right? So I'm just like, here's somebody who I can give this
So
feedback to without her, like, throwing herself off a cliff,
yeah.
without recentering, but just kind of taking it in, emotionally neutral. I have more data.
Oh my gosh. And it was, I mean, there's so many layers to it. First, I think about you're in my front row. Because if we talk about our front
Yep.
row people, those are our cheerleaders and we know the intent. And then I will never forget saying to you, no, 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 the brand is, and then I word salad. And you basically said, well, great, but that's not what is showing up. And I thought, oh my word, thank you so much. That it's all about intent. It's all about intent. And we know our people who will call us on our shit. And those are the most valuable people.
Yeah, because you did see the thread that wove everything together and made
But no one
sense.
else
But
did.
like
Yeah.
from the beginning, like ever since you entered my universe a bazillion years ago, like you modeled consistency. You modeled like, having a strong focus. And so for me, when you started having like in your world, from your world, it was like this can show up in all these different channels.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yet for me, I was just like, what is she doing? I don't understand. Why is she all over the place? And
I mean,
and
that
it took you like saying, oh no, look, like it was like those people that can make art where you turn it and it turns into something else. Like I was like, oh,
well,
it's
and
a
I was like,
Star
you can
Wars
see
scene.
it.
I got it now. Okay, I'm all caught up. So I am so grateful that you didn't abandon it, because part of it is like my ADHD brain and me just assuming like I know that it must make sense somewhere, but it doesn't make sense right now to
And
me. So
I
yeah,
mean, and it was really ties in with consistency because it felt scattered to you, which unbelievably helpful. And then because for the uninitiated, it's very exciting. So it was Everyday Consistency is the book, and then there are companion books underneath what neath can I talk today? Underneath which focus on areas of our lives that we can lean into the power of consistency. I have one for spiritual called The Sacred Return. I have
mm,
one for dating called Dating Later. I wrote one with my money lady, which retirement gives me stress, even though I'm being consistent, called Steady Money. And I pulled her in to talk about, okay, how can we get consistent, not panic with money? But it wasn't conveying that way. And this is the front row people. This is why I love what you do, because you bring women together. I love that.
well, and let's just be comfy being imperfect. Let's not try and get it right the first. Like let's let's learn and screw up in front of people so that we normalize that is, that is how we grow. That is how we learn. That's how like we stay uncomfortable as part of our comfortable. And that is my consistency. It's like I don't know what I'm doing. I like podcast, sure. Like I'm just figuring it out. And but here we are.
And I mean, after our conversation, at one point, I did my first Substack live, which was not amazing. And I went into it thinking, oh, this is not going to be amazing because consistency is practice mindset, perfection is presentation. Like,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to be a little messy, and that's
Yeah.
okay. Consistency is practice.
Well, and most of my clients are high achieving women over 40, right? So they have already become badasses in one
Yeah.
realm or another,
Yeah.
whether it's HR, whether it's law, whether it's in medicine. But then because of that, there is this like imposter syndrome that just punches them right in the face
Yeah.
whenever they try and learn something new, because they think, oh, I should be able to sit down at the piano and play a concerto, like, when they would be lucky to do chopsticks, and yet like because they have been performing badasses, like because they have been playing, concertos in halls, but applying that to this new setting feels awkward. And yet like neurologically, like that's how we stay on top of it. That's how we stay if we allow ourselves to be curious, if we allow ourselves to play,
And to be
then we get
beginners.
to, yeah, we get to hijack all of that. Like you cannot be like in gratitude and anxious at the same time. So if you just look at it as this like fun experiment, like let's just like like when we think about like, the number of questions people ask a day versus how many questions kids ask a day, like let's get back to that shit. Yeah.
It's everything. I mean, hearing you talk about it, I mean, I always say that I love dating, and I do, but because I'm curious, I'm like, this is going to be so interesting, even if it's not my match. And also, I mean, my life over the past probably 7 or 8 years has been, I mean, living in those growth edges and growing every day and the constant reminder of, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be good at something the first day.
Mm,
So I think that when you're so skilled as a high achieving human, age 40, it's tough.
yeah. What became unsustainable as you've gotten older that used to feel kind of normal?
I know I was thinking about this with consistency and again, the not sexy, exciting Carla life. I discovered consistency, I mean, 30.
I'm gonna push back on you because you used the word unsexy probably 26 times since we've got on this in this podcast. And yet, like, stop. Like, why not embrace that it is sexy as fuck to be
I,
yourself? Like,
yes,
why not? Why
I,
not? Like that to me is what lights me up. Like my guy, like he's all into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Like I would rather poke my eyeball out,
yeah,
but what really gets me like the lust dust like sprinkling all over my body is when I see him being like totally horny for Dungeons. Like he just gets so
that's it.
excited. He's
Right.
so
Yeah.
passionate, that I'm just like
We need
that's what I freaking love. That's what I love. It is seeing him light up the and so
But
like
D&D, that
why
seems a little more, it's just funny. It's like saying, I am very excited about boiled chicken. But okay, so what have I now I'm gonna say with the boiled chicken. For me, I learned consistency so long ago, like 36 years ago, Kenyon College, crappy gym, and that's when I learned it. What has changed is, I mean, it is no exaggeration to say it kind of changed my life
yeah,
through divorce, through money up and down, through
yeah.
job shifts, leaning into that scaffolding that I built because I thought this is kind of cool. Never thought it would be, I mean, life saving when I've had
Mm,
disruptions in life. That structure, the freedom inside the structure, but having that structure
mm.
truly saved my life.
And so if you think that somebody feels like they're out there, they're watching this, and they feel like they are failing at consistency, like what what's maybe something that she hasn't considered yet that could completely change the way she sees herself?
Well, thank you for asking because I'm very sexy. And I'm going
That's
to
right.
this here. I mean, this is very sexy. But what I think we all know, we know where we want to land. Let's say it's a book. What we don't do is, I mean, I love the mostly men. There's some women in there who are the big optimizers and productivity. Not this one. I think on my crappiest, hardest day, what is the smallest step I can take? One
Mhm.
sentence. If I am upside down on my house, it feels overwhelming, save $1. It's that MVP. And then show up again the next day and the
Mm,
next day and the next day. It could be 25 cents one day. Do not stop. Keep doing it. It could be 10
mhm,
pages one day. And then that Saturday, you were going to write a whole chapter. You just write 3 sentences. Return. Don't
mhm.
quit. It's all about the return.
Like for me with my Peloton, it was about getting the blue dot, like I would freaking do a 5-minute yoga class, but I was not making my streak miss up or the Duolingo people, who are like totally into it, like there are longer lessons and shorter lessons, or if I'm going to do exercise, like there's an hour workout and there's a 5-minute workout. Like, how are you showing up for yourself? Yeah.
It's self-trust, and that's
Yeah.
what it is. It's trusting that even if we miss 2 weeks, a month when I'm
Yeah.
struggling for work, that I will return.
Yeah. Tiny repetitions again and again, day after
Weird over
day.
time we get there. And that's where maybe it's not that it's not sexy, it's not flashy. Although these
Hmm.
days people would put on LinkedIn, hey, I've been sitting in a corner typing for 7 months and I've written a book. So maybe it's making a comeback.
Oh, and I think that we can approach our healing in the same way, that it really is just about, what direction do we want to apply the consistency and how will that like have the best ripple effect towards my favorite self, like how do I want to what do I want to look like, in a month or 6 months or,
What do I really desire? Because it's
yeah,
that D word that can feel really weird and uncomfortable, but
yeah.
it's the core.
Thank you for being here. I'm
I'm
so grateful for you.
So fun. Thank you for having me.
Mm. Well, I'm going to play this cute little outro music where we can jam, but then I'm bringing you back in so I can talk to you about more inappropriate things. But
Oh, I like it.
all right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.